auto lenders were quite concerned how credit would develop. In fact, early in the quarter, we offered quite a bit of payment relief to our consumer base in the form of deferrals. We approached it a little bit different than other auto lenders. We actually had a discussion with each of our consumers who wanted a deferment instead of doing a blanket policy. And we also offered just a 2-month deferral rather than, in most cases, rather than some lenders did as long as 120 days. During the pandemic period, from the middle of March through roughly the end of June, we deferred roughly 127,000 accounts, which was about 6.7% of our total portfolio. And our payment performance on those accounts since deferment has actually been quite good. In fact, as of July 26th, which is when we reported earnings, 80% of those customers that were deferred had made their payment in full. 14% were 1 or more days past due. 1% only had re-deferred or re-extended, and 5% had not yet had a due date at that point in time. Those stats are a lot better than what we would normally see from our deferment program. And I want to add that our deferment levels today, or for the month of July, for instance, are back to normal, about 1% per month. So good performance coming off of deferment, and just about all those accounts have been resolved at this point. The other thing to mention on credit is that our delinquencies, especially 5 to 30 day and 30 to 60 day, are at levels that we have never seen before. They're really quite low, driven by, of course, the stimulus money, both one-time and supplemental unemployment checks, but probably more so by the fact that consumer spending is way down. Consumers aren't going out to eat, going to movies, taking vacations, buying clothes. That's left them a lot of discretionary income to make their auto payment. And to a great extent, just like the Great Recession 10 years ago, the auto is a very important asset to the consumer. With ride sharing down, mass transit not being utilized, customers really need their car, and they're paying for it. Our guidance for the year in terms of credit losses was for a range of 2 to 2.5%. For the first half of the year, we ran 1.6%. So losses would have to elevate quite a bit in the second half to reach our 2 to 2.5% target. Again, we've seen very strong payment performance amongst our consumer base. At this point, it's not likely that we'll hit that 2 to 2.5% range. So we believe we have some upside here. What might be happening, though, is that with unemployment still high and weakness in the economy, some of the losses we might have expected in the second half of 2020 may be pushed out into 2021. But I want to remind everybody that because of the CECL accounting standard, we allow for losses on a lifetime basis. In fact, our allowance is 4.4% of the portfolio at June 30th, which would give us 2+ years of loss coverage, and our average life of a loan is 2 to 2.5 years. So we believe we're provided for quite well at this point, and perhaps some upside if credit develops better than we think. Next topic, which many people, I'm sure, consider the most important topic, and that's residual values, and I'm referring to slide 12. GMF has a fairly sizable lease book, roughly $29 billion of residual exposure. Early in the pandemic, April, the used car values declined 10 to 15% very quickly. Fortunately, used car values troughed in early April, and they've been up on a week-over-week basis ever since then, to the point that here in beginning of August, used car prices are actually higher than they were pre-pandemic. From a strategic standpoint, GMF played this dynamic quite well. We get about 40 or 50,000 cars coming off lease a month. Back in April and May, when prices were weaker, we held inventory. In other words, we didn't sell into a weak market.